a problem for him, such a problem that he didn't feel he could, quote unquote, promote flat Earth anymore.
Yeah, don't promote things that you haven't verified. That's his karmic lesson that he's going through. He promoted something he didn't verify, and he's getting bit for it. But that's really his problem. It has nothing to do with what the Earth is.
But that's not what happened. What happened is the community turned on him even before he left. So you're thinking that he took a stand against flat Earth, and he didn't. It's Weiss that made all of this up to make Jaron into an enemy. Weiss did that. Weiss did it. Weiss did it. And it was because Jaron was asking Weiss, why do you say shit that isn't true in your videos? And Weiss would say, don't worry about it. And it was getting to the point where it was eating him up to be seen with flat earthers who were full of shit. And that's the truth. Weiss doesn't care if he lies.
Right, but that's all human drama. We're talking about what the Earth is.
No, it's not. It's real.
I understand if you have a perception of David Weiss and Jaron and what they said on the internet.
I'm telling you what really happened.
But that's not really what the topic is.
Who flipped, who attacked, who did what.
Yeah, I'm just talking about his position, though. I'm not really talking about like who did what and who said a thing and who on the internet did a thing on a live stream. I'm just talking about his position, and his claim is to what he's trying to claim is he had a revelation, quote unquote, that it's really a globe because of the sun in the south. I'm just saying that is what I'm referring to.
Not because of the sun in the south, because of the existence of the south. First-hand knowledge that there is a south.
Of course there is.
Sun. Not of course there is.
South has been known for eons.
Flat Earth says everywhere south.
Well, his model said that. The model he married.
Well, I didn't know. I mean,
he didn't marry any model. He didn't marry any model.
It's your perception that whatever. I mean, a stationary planar Earth doesn't say there's no south. Just in terms of that, if you're calling flat Earth and linking it to
guess what?
Gleason's theory, then that's a different thing.
Guess what? You're arguing something that only you say. Stationary planar Earth is your way of saying I never said flat Earth. I understand that, but everyone else
it's not at all.
Flat Earth.
No, my usage
everyone else said flat Earth, and everyone else outed the AE.
Geometric.
Everyone else.
Before you just completely strawman me.
But everyone else accepted those things.
Dan, you know to chill out a little bit, man.
But they did. We all know that it was everywhere. And it wasn't challenged.
Yeah, I think it was one of the things where it's like people thought it was plausible, right?
Yeah, it wasn't challenged.
This model looks plausible, but it's not like if this model doesn't exist, it's all bullshit. I think Jaron's the only one that had that.
But unfortunately, there's been no replacement. There's been no. When Jaron asked, okay, so what would it be then? There's been no offering of value. Joe Hanvey, of course, any mirror expressing that as the Southern Stars forgets that the Southern Stars have their own pattern. It's not just a mirror of the North.
Right, but so he knocks out his old argument, right? Like his old belief was like, all right, well, I think this is what the world is, right? And then it's not only because I think there's an ice wall, right? He had so many arguments for why he thought the Earth was flat, right? And
there was all of that stuff that we
right, exactly. That's what I mean.
We're clinging to. We were clinging to it.
So all these different things tied in together, right? Brought this conclusion of we can establish what we think a model would be, what the Earth could potentially be, right? This is plausible now, right? We stringed enough information and experiments together. We came up with this model, and this is what I think. All right.
So you just got to 2018 and 19.
All right. So now you go down the south. You see, oh shit, my model, I just debunked this model. How does that discredit every other experiment you did that led you to that conclusion? Because they're not all tied.
In his case,
they're all tied together.
In his case, he's failed every experiment he did. In his case, he's failed, and he's miserable at it. So in his case, he shouldn't rely upon his experimentation. Now, also, he shouldn't have put so much faith in Bob because Bob wouldn't be corrected. And he defended Bob forever. And it's very bitter for him now, knowing that people like myself were pushed away, treated like shit because Flat Earth wouldn't be corrected on anything.
Well, it sounds like he put all his eggs in one basket and then realized, oh, fuck. You know?
But that...
And now he's like, well, if the sun does this, it blows out my model, right? And that's all the eggs in his basket were in the model. Like, this had to be a thing. And now, because this isn't a thing, everything else that I know... That's
not what he says. That's not what he says or what happened. You're forgetting. You're pretending that, man. No, you're totally fucking pretending that.
I'm not, though. How am I pretending that when he's on his own live streams, he says that the Earth's a globe, and now he argues for the globe.
He argues for both things still. I can't fucking believe how weak Flat Earth really is. And when you wake up, you will see that we have nowhere to go with it. There's nowhere to go with it but blind religious faith. That's not the Flat Earth him and I came around to. That Geo says he never was part of.
Well, I think everybody thought it was plausible. I don't think everybody was married to the idea like Jaren was. Jaren was completely like, this is what it is.
Hold on, I just rejoined the VC, and what were you talking about me now?
I don't know. I was jabbing at you.
More straw man's deception.
No, it's just that the villainization of Jaren is so easy for you guys and so fanciful compared to the realities that we have to face as truthers. Forget flat earthers for a minute. As truthers, look how hard it is now to find any truth in anything, from the AI pictures and movies to our friends, and look how easily people have been villainized. And that's what you have to see. Going back to IPS, who had some strong, features, Mad Mike, myself, Taboo Conspiracy walks away from Globebusters, Rodrigo disappears. I mean, everything that you really see is when the integrity got thin, a lot of people had to walk away. Paul on the Plane had to walk away because the integrity disappeared. And
I just went back on the live stream and just listened. Well, it's really tough because what you're doing is you're strawmanning and then monologuing. It's almost just untenable to have it back and forth. But anyways, I never said I wasn't part of any discussions of the AE map and stuff. I mean, I never claimed that was the Earth. And I never claimed there was no 24-hour sun in the south, and I never claimed there was no 90-degree south point. So I never claimed those things. The AE map is useful. The AE map is useful, especially in the north. There's a lot of benefit of it.
Sure.
Obviously, we've discussed
here's what you did before.
But I've never jumped on it.
Here's what you did before TFE. You were very sure to review everything that we had in our hands and to say you didn't know. That's what you said. You were honest.
I didn't say I didn't know either.
Yes, you did. You said there could be 2 suns, could be 3 suns, could be 4 suns. We don't know. That's exactly what you fucking said.
Straw manning again.
You know exactly that's what you said, because when I repeated it, fucking the Demon made a video of it, and you fucking been banned him ever since.
I never said no one's banned, and I never said that.
Jesus.
That you're just very
defensive. Why do you want to be defensive?
I was listening to that. I don't know what happened. I think someone may have removed Dan or something. Is that what happened?
Oh darn! I was hearing back and
looks
forth.
Like he dropped out of the VC.
Could have been an internet connection. He was too hot-headed to drop out by himself. So, anyways, yeah, he needs to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, to be able to communicate.
Very touchy about the Jaren thing.
Well, emotionally charged. It's really difficult to communicate with someone when they.
Yeah, it's just extremely deceptive what he was saying. So I never said there could be 2 suns, there could be 3 suns. Never did I say that. That was not something that happened. We were talking about ideas, and we were talking about all kinds of different layouts and different things like that. But I never ran around saying, I don't know, there could be 2, 3, or 4 suns. So I mean, if he's going to do just these blatantly deceptive kind of tactics and then monologue and scream over me, it's very, very toxic.
Yeah, but even if you did say, oh, there could be 2 suns, like, what's the harm in that?
It's
like,
damn different.
Speculation,
For real.
It's not like you're making a claim. Like, I think there's two.
What I'm
suns.
saying is that I never claimed there could have been more than one sun. We were just talking about on certain map layouts what would be required if it was laid out like this. You know what I mean? For example, if it's laid out like this, what would be required to see the sun in multiple positions or something like that? So
I mean, that's fair. Like, I don't know. I think the speculation's healthy, whether it's like realistic or not. Like,
hey Dan, welcome back.
Did you disconnect, Dan?
No, somebody kicked me. So like going back to, let's say 2 months before.
Hey Dan, sorry Dan, real quick. You got to calm down a little bit, man.
Right, I am. I'm fine. Thank
Okay.
Thank you for having me. So going back to a couple months before, like I said, Gio, I think you did everything right. You did as much research as you could. You went out of your way, both participating with everyone and on your own offline. And you went into, several hours or whatever, 10, 20. You spent extra hours on it, right? And
but just to clarify, if you're going to say something about me, at least just give me the chance to respond. All I was trying to say is that I never was saying, but I never said I don't know there could be more suns. I never claimed that. I specifically said
why we're discussing
I never claimed there was more than one sun. I know astrology.
Why we're discussing it is that Flat Earth didn't have anything viable to offer with the AE snatched out.
Yes, of course it does. The AE map has always had that problem with the South, with the stars as well.
Okay, well, he had been leaning on the preponderance of evidence that made us believe that it could still be viable. And he was stubborn enough that you had to go fucking show him. So that's that. We don't know is enough.
That's what Rigger said. Rigger said his model.
What we don't know is enough to be a problem. Forget Jaron for a minute and the accusations and we needing to villainize people. I think you drew strong conclusions before he left. He had already called for the replacement of himself on Globebusters before he left. He was really aware, and you were really aware, and I was really aware what they were going to find, right? We all, the three of us in particular, absolutely knew out loud what they were going to go see.
Well, I also am not, another kind of thing I feel like as a straw man is the villainizing. I'm not villainizing anyone.
Okay.
I don't think Jaron's a villain. I think he is going what he's going. I mean, I made the comments I made, but I'm not against him or think that he's some evil villain or anything. He's a guy that's going through a whole thing, apparently. I mean, I haven't kept up with all this.
Flat Earth accused him of lying in a giant dome green screen deception, and then it was about money. Then it spread to Patricia and Mark and the money, the thing that you don't still say you don't know about, and the accusations have been ridiculous. That roundtable, that thing called the roundtable, showed it all. They are all sitting there firing off, pretending that they still had action as a flat earther, and I just like.
Yeah, but the way I see it is that like the globe has been sold to us, and then when you start looking into the Earth being stationary and planar, and when I use those words, it's not to avoid the term flat Earth. They're just more accurate words. They're more geometric. I've always said for years, the thing about the term flat Earth, it's just not a very specific term. Like it's very generalized, like flat Earth. Like what is that? You know what I mean? It's not technical. Yeah. Like, stationary actually means something. Planar actually means something in geometry, etc. Whereas flat Earth is just, so that's one of my gripes with it is it's not really nuanced.
I was never a domer, but I wanted there to be an ice wall. So let's go into this.
How do you know there isn't one?
Because it only says it's 300 miles long when you look it up. The one that we see
but it could not be Antarctica.
300 miles long.
Antarctica could be a continent, and there also could be an ice ring around the whole realm.
Well, the ice wall that we see pictures of is only 300 miles long, the longest one.
No, I know. I'm saying there also could be an ice wall on the outer beyond Antarctica, another ice rim. And Antarctica could still be a continent.
I hope so, but I don't have any evidence of that. And now I realize I'm using hope as a tool. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that. I mean, like I did in terms of, Flat Earth and AAE. I had hope for it. But now when I see what the participants, forget what they've done to Jaron and stuff. I mean, look what they did to me. You watched it.
It's pretty accurate in the North. The AE is
but you watched it. When I presented math, I was rejected across the board. I have it in writing. You're gone. I'm going to make sure nobody ever fucking listens to you ever. And that was over math. And and Nathan Thompson's still going out with that. So of course I can disassociate myself with Nathan. You can disassociate yourself with Nathan, but the bullshit is being circulated still and repeated still. And it's just the same stuff, I guess, Dubé started. So it's just a trip. It's how much traction it got. And I can still fight for Flat Earth and the demonstrations that we've made here. So I understand the burden of proof should be 8 inches of drop and bottom up obstruction. I don't have that burden satisfied to my satisfaction. But
like we were given the globe. The AE map is the next thing you find when you, especially like I said, if you're thinking of the Earth being flat, essentially planar, stationary, etc., you're going to find that AE map. And when we were talking even about the multiple suns, I wasn't saying, oh, I don't know, there could be multiple suns. What I was saying is that with this layout, in order for there to be a 24-hour sun, let's say in multiple locations, then that would be what would be needed, because you can't have, if you have like 2 GPs or 3 GPs simultaneously, well then you do have more than one sun. So yeah, I wasn't like saying it could have been that, and that's where like that thing you mentioned with Demon Stride, yeah, he took that completely out of context, tried to make like a weird hit piece thing that was just deceptive, because
but what you knew is that we didn't know. That's what I'm saying, is that we don't know. So every dipshit came along claiming to know stuff.
What the real map is? You mean what the real map is? We don't know.
Yeah, you and I knew that we suddenly really didn't know. And the people who were looking to jump in were looking to jump in. I never really Alonzo's of the world and the Shanes of the world.
Yeah, but I never thought the AE map was correct. Therefore, even if there's more information that comes out to where, like, even in the future as well, that it's not correct, like measuring distances between the southern continents, all that stuff, none of that is a heartbreak to me, because I wasn't sitting there on the edge of my seat praying that the AE map was the answer to the world. So that's why, to me, it's just sort of like an ancillary thing. Yes, it's been a point of conversation. It's been at the center of the dinner table for sure. Everyone's been looking at it, and considering it, because it is accurate in the north. But I mean, I never was attached to it in any way to where it was, it's any kind of a breakdown for me to realize that's not what the whole Earth is. It was more of just like, it's something that's there. It's a consideration. It seems the accuracy in the north is way better in the south, obviously, in terms of the distorted Antarctica and all that, or Australia and all that.
So, do you see the Antarctica as an ice ring or as an island continent?
I mean, I haven't been there, but from all the information I've collated, it seems like a continent, or it seems like at least those bases, the like McMurdo and Union Glacier, they're all pretty close to each other. Yeah,
let's assume we're kind of fucked into accepting that. Forget maybe satellite images or whatever, but let's just say now, let's address this race, this France around Antarctica and back race. In the past, we were just able to go, yeah, well, they're fucking lying. They did about that other Antarctica journey, and we just disregarded it. And now we're going to have to kind of go, oh, yeah, that's probably real. There's lots of documentation
about that. The Vendée Globe?
Yeah.
I've got some pictures of that one that actually show the two routes on an AE versus a globe. Since you mentioned, you're actually talking about the Vendée Globe. So this is like on their website.
We were able to deny it across the board.
I didn't necessarily deny. See, when you say we, that's the thing. Unless really everyone that you're talking about, I never denied that it existed. We talked about it though. Those are the two pictures from
flat earthers pretended the South wasn't there and hoped it wasn't there. Yeah,
no, I think it was always just debated. Maybe some people did, but I think it was always just discussed, debated.
All right. Well, going back to Jaron's psychology, it was dependent. His belief in that layout was dependent on that.
Yeah. So his whole perception that the Earth has, the overall planar geometry with the stationary, etc., flat Earth as it were. But for him, the whole thing hinged on the AE map, and he's not able to.
No, the integrity of everyone around him showed up immediately. See, that's what you're not understanding. Nobody had anything or cared that everyone had been fibbing or lying. It was all just art and style and marketing. And
Dan, that process.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't have as much comment on the sociological stuff. I hear you though. There's people that say things and have feelings, and then there's people that have channels and have followers and stuff. So I'm sure there's different sentiments that were said. But if you ask someone like that Dr. Zach guy, he's always said that the stars do that in the south. I don't know if he says there's a 90-degree south point or what his exact take on that part is, but I mean, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy you've heard this guy Kazra? He did a presentation on here. He said he's been into the two-pole map since 2018. So his whole group has been on that since 18. So I mean, there's a lot of different people out there. There's not a one we. I mean, he never was an AE mapper, or at least not since 18. I mean, I guess if he was before, I can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there you are. Hey, what's up? Oh my gosh, did you just happen to pop in, or were you listening?
Oh, really? Yeah, so I thought you saw me.
Okay. Oh no, I didn't even see you. That's awesome.
Okay, yeah.
So you never you never had the AE map? Like, did you ever even consider it, or did you at some point consider it?
Before 2018. So 2012, when I graduated from my university, I graduated master's in aerospace. So I started asking questions from my professors. That was 2012. So, ever since that time, since I didn't get good answers from them, I turned to a flat earther. So I started with the AE map, and I think that's the start off point for every person, every flat earther. But like as you said, back in 2018, we realized that the symmetry is not been observed in the AE map, or we don't have a symmetry in the AE map. So, or some other issues that the AE map had. So yeah, that was 2018 that we we moved on from the AE map to the two-pole flat Earth model. Yeah,
you're saying the symmetry, the north and the south symmetrical nature of the sun, the stars.
Exactly. Yeah.
And who's we? Who is we? How did I miss that part of
it? Well, actually, I have my own community. So when I say we, I'm talking about my own community. As Gio said, we got a lot of flat earthers that they have their own channel, they have their own people. They're freelancers, they're just doing their own thing. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we grew up in Google Hangouts as our first flat Earth area, of reaching out.
Well, there are different areas, there are different platforms. If you go to, I don't know, like there's a lot of servers, a lot of, Instagram channels, tell you, a lot of Telegram channels. Actually, we started with the Telegram channel in the first place back in 2013, and so I personally know a lot of flat Earth communities, and I can say that at least 50%, 60% of them almost have moved on from the AE map right now, especially after the final experiment that happened. So yeah, here we are right now. See what happens.
Interesting. So just real quick on your mic was kind of muffled. It was a little hard to hear you. So I don't know if you're able just to remedy that
Okay,
real
sorry.
quick. But
Okay, this is better.
we did.
Probably was my yeah. So as I
It's
said, like
a lot better.
yeah,
It's a lot better. But we heard if you want to repeat it, but I think we heard it. But you're saying you think about 60% of people have moved on from the AE map. You said at the end.
let me just come in again. Hold on. What I think is that, I think that right now, if you talk with a lot of flat earthers, especially the admins, I think that, a lot of them actually moved on from the AE map, especially after the final experiment. And I can say that a lot of them are baffled. They're confused at where they should go, what they should believe on it. So yeah, this is the situation that we have right now. But as you said, that like some of the communities like us, we have this two-pole flat Earth model. Some other flat Earth model. Some other flat Earthers also believe in the two-pole flat Earth model. Yeah, I know some communities, and I know that Geo here, that we have a presentation of the flat Earth model, of two-pole flat Earth model, and I think that it made a lot of sense for a lot of flat Earthers here in this platform as well. So this is the situation that we have right now, and we don't have a main narrative for flat earthers ever since the final experiment right now. So I think that the best way is to just to share information and trying to come up with a better model. So from my perspective, I think that the two-pole flat Earth model is way more complete than the AE map, because it has two poles, it has that symmetry, it can explain a lot of things that the AE couldn't explain. But yeah, we do have some, like the concave earthers. I don't know, there's some other groups as well, but what I'm observing right now within the whole platform, I don't see a main narrative, and that's the kind of the issue that we have right now. So see what
Okay,
happens.
so Gio, when Jaren is accused of jumping ship, you think he should have taken turns at the helm of this broken vessel? Because this vessel's broken around him. That's
Well,
all.
I mean, the thing is, there's just different things. Like there's the one thing that the Earth not being a globe, you have that part, not having the curvature kind of thing, and then you have what the Earth is, and then if then somebody's going to come to a position that there's no curvature, water's level, and then you get to that the planar nature of that, then you have that factor. Then you have a map and a model even on top of that, because so now then you would have what is the actual layout of the land, what is the real model, how does the sky work, how does the sky map to the ground. So there's a lot of layers. I mean, Jaren could have, if he chose to, he could have just gone back to stationary planar, but he doesn't have a map, doesn't have an exact understanding of the full sky. But, and that doesn't have to be viewed as a broken vessel. I mean, we've been lied to. The globe is the broken vessel. That's the deception that's done what it's done. Us trying to figure it out is not broken. Yeah, if people are jumping to false ideas, though, and proselytizing those ideas, and then they're not true, then that would be for them to deal, to consider why they were doing that. But I mean,
yeah, but look at all of them. Look at them that popped up, and look at the unity that they did with the roundtable, trying to make it look like they were strong and everything was okay. In the meantime, Karen B was already gone. Like it was, and she's the one that's held it together for the past 3 years. So it's like someone's got to come to grips with the reality that it's all the way busted. It's all the way broken. So it would be exciting if we could get back on track of the truth of anything instead of hope, because unfortunately our hope is outweighed by some of the evidence.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're mentioning the whole flat Earth roundtable. I remember that. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I did watch like the first half of it.
It was
yeah, I mean, you're kind of talking about people like in general. I'm not talking about those people. I'm not really trying to name anyone, but are you generally trying to talk about people who really asserted the AE map or really thought that was it, used it in all their like logos and on their T-shirts and all kinds of stuff, and then now the situation of the South having, I mean, it's not really that much more information that they took the trip. There was already a lot of people that have already taken the trip that there's footage of it, but nonetheless, I suppose they did add some to it. So you're just saying that those people now are not adjusting to it, or just, is that what you're saying? So you think that ship, I mean, of course, from the perspective that the AE map is false, anyone who's been pushing it and then is still pushing it would be on a kind of broken ship from the perspective that it's false, just like the globe one would be. So, I mean, it's the truth is the one that's not the broken ship, if that's what you're kind of using that analogy for.
Just the truth seems to be far from the stuff we people like you and I like the truth part of stuff. We're not so much into the sport of arguing. You think that there's a purpose down the road, so do I. It's not just for the sport of arguing. You think that every day is about growth. And I don't see that happening now within this group of people we know, you know?
Well, I mean, in a way, I hear you because I've actually made comments about after this all happened with Jaron, with everybody. I've been more surprised, and actually, we've been told this here that we're one of the only places actually moving it forward and discussing it. Is what others have told me, and whatnot, and then as well, or have come here and said, because I would have expected more with whatever their trip was, that there would have been much more. I would have generally considered that it probably would have been much more people actually coming together, maybe Globebusters. They would have had a big panel, just every week discussing, moving forward, Witsit, et cetera, just bringing whatever new information they feel like they found, if it was new for them. I mean, it was like people that a lot of people knew who went rather than just videos on YouTube of other people going. So fair enough. It was like more firsthand, accessibility to that region, and better footage than existed before of Union Glacier for sure. At least for the 24-hour sun, although there's pretty amazing eclipse footage from 2021 from there. That's pretty amazing too. But anyway, so yeah, I would have generally considered that there probably would have been more discussions and panels and people, coming up with different things than there has been. Yeah, it seems like it's been much more of a blowout, kind of a fallout. But that's why it's like a test. I kind of think of it as like, even if I use the word truther, like a truther test in a way. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge situation. And I hear what you're saying, though. I mean, yeah, it does seem like a lot of people went into drama and splitting away rather than more coming together. But there are still people coming together. It's maybe just not, some of the channels that we've known about or something, or maybe not some of the ones we would have thought it would have been.
Oddly enough, people, bark out stuff and don't understand some of the sympathies. Both Jaron and Nicktoon really let Witsit do what Witsit was going to do. There was no attacks upon Witsit. It was like, everyone was just like, let's let Witsit sort this out. And he went hush quiet and turned up with health problems and personal problems and came out of this a diminished man. So that, I think, would have had Witsit survived this better. I think there'd be more something to rally around for flat earthers. But I don't think he survived it very well. Yeah, because he's not strong. He doesn't feel strong. He doesn't look strong. He doesn't act strong. And they didn't. I just want you to know that Nicktoon deliberately, just watched to see what he did.
Okay,
And
I have to defend Witsit for just a moment. People don't know about what he's going through, so don't.
I do, and I don't talk about it publicly.
I don't either.
I fucking do. And
okay, I'm just saying, don't cast stones.
Yeah, well, a lot of people protecting him hasn't helped the integrity of flat Earth, myself included. So
no, this
is another layer of fucking protection and self-censorship I'm not proud of.
Okay, this is a personal type of attack versus someone that is not currently here.
It's an attack upon flat Earth for him to have people protecting him because we're hopeful of him, and that's what's happened.
Okay, I am just saying that he is not here to defend himself.
Well, we were all very hopeful to see how he came out of this.
Okay,
and like I said,
when he is ready to talk about that, he will, if he wants to. But for the time being, leave him out of this whole nonsense because he's not here. Jaron's not here.
Yeah, but also Winston's recent streams, he actually looked he looked strong. So you're saying all that stuff, he's not strong. He did take a break and stepped away, but he was getting attacked like crazy. He wanted some time to kind of collect his thoughts and then whatever else is going on in his life. But I mean, I hear you. He did kind of step back. But I mean,
it's not whatever.
We're all individual people. We're all our own people. It's not like he's like the CEO of a corporation that has some, task that he has to fulfill or something. I mean, we're all just people. So I mean, he's free to.
Yeah, but he had to deal with his whole life direction. He had to totally deal with his entire life.
Yeah, you realize Witsit has to, provide for himself. Like, what if you make your whole livelihood about flat Earth, then you realize the Earth's actually a ball, but then you realize you have to keep making money.
It's not the case.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
He's never said the Earth's a ball that I've heard ever say that.
Well, yeah, he's not going to say that because he wants to keep making money.
Well, now you're making false accusations about him. I mean, I guess if you want to make a commentary on your theory, but I mean, it's not fair to just.
What would make Witsit look strong?
Having an explanation for the South that they witnessed firsthand.
Why is it up to him to make claims about stuff that nobody has?
Make it look strong. You asked me. So his statement.
Right, I think his biceps made him look pretty strong, dude. You see his biceps? That boy's in good shape. The
fucking response was dog shit, bro. Fuck you.
Go back to sleep.
What is very interesting is that, I personally warned Witsit and Elizabeth. She was a girl that she went down with Witsit. I don't know if you guys know her or not, but I think that a lot of flat earthers already warned these flat earthers to do not go down there because they're going to see the 24-hour sun down there, and that was the thing that they ignored. And so this is the consequences of their ignorance about the other comments of the other flat earthers. We do have the day length
The day length are symmetrical with respect to the equator. And this is something that it's a fact. And this is something that a flat earther needs to recognize. And once he recognized this, he would know that there would be 100%, it would be a 24-hour sun on Antarctica. So these are so, like, from my perspective, it's so trivial, so simple to understand these little facts about our reality. Like it's like the focal pendulum, like everything, like the counter rotation of the stars. These are the things that the old flat earthers, like the AE map, couldn't explain that. So I think, as I said before, in that, in the presentation that we had in here, the whole thing, the whole experiment was a setup for flat earthers to ridicule them and just degrade all the flat earthers across the world, and they were successful about it. McDoom was successful. They knew there would be a 24-hour sun, and I'm telling you, a lot of flat earthers, they already knew there was be a 24-hour sun down there. So what happened was just the main narrative of the flat earther that got debunked. That's it. That's all it is.
You're right, but that's a pretty big blow.
Yeah, because if you look at
it was the flag. It was the image of the flat Earth, the AE.
So, exactly. So no matter how much, so no matter how much we trying to explain that, no matter how much we're trying to come up with different models, we have lost the position. I'm not talking about myself. I never believed in the AE map, but I'm talking as a flat Earth in generally. We have lost our faces in the world, and we need to just we need to just make it right again. And the only thing is that to come up with a better model, and to just explain the other things that we couldn't explain. So, as I said, the two-pole flat Earth model is one of the alternatives. The concave earthers, they have some explanation. I don't believe into them very, very much. But what is so sure is that the AE map is 100% wrong, and we do have two poles in our reality, two centers. And this is the thing that they have ignored it all their life. That was very interesting for me, and that really made flat earthers to kind of look stupid. Because if you talk with any glober, they will tell you, of course, with the day length, the the star trails, everything looks symmetrical. Everything has its own pattern, has its own symmetrical pattern with respect to the equator. Even the globe model has that feature. But this was something that most of the globers knew, some of the flat Earth knew, but the majority of the flat earthers, they have never paid attention to this problem that they had. So even if right now I'm going to Clubhouse, like every night, I'm just talking with a lot of flat earthers there, and a lot of them are still in the AE map. A lot of them still think that there's a magical dome upon any observer down there that will create a subjective sun, a subjective counter stars, and this is our situation right now. We know what I'm trying, and we need to just solve this as a flat earther. If you have compassion, you need to just talk with any flat earther who thinks that the AE map is right. Just explain to them that it's not, and trying to gather all the flat earthers to one main narrative like before. Okay, I think this is so important.
Wow, you're blowing me away because you're forgetting who took over. The Christians took over. They don't care what's real.
But neither does the narrative. So create a new dramaturgy.
It's a disaster because you can't find a flat earther besides me that cares about what you just said, Khosrow.
Oh, well, what do you mean? Look, you don't know all the flat earthers. I know a lot of flat earthers. They care. Why you're saying that? Like, you haven't spoken with all the flat earthers across the world. So why are you saying that?
Because they don't have a voice. Just I was asking, who's we? Where are you? That voice that you're speaking of, the wisdom of pre-2018, the wisdom of today. I don't know where to talk to those people. They're not looking to go against Weiss. They're not looking to go on call in Mark show. Who are they? Because all we saw was a circling of the wagons and a giant fest. Everyone just going, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And what emerged is that was my attitude. It's like, well, there's bullshit out there, so much bullshit, I don't believe in anything they say. So anything that came along like that, like Reyes, I was just, well, I don't believe that either. So I could just lump anything into, I don't believe it, therefore I don't need to look at it. And that was a bubble. It's not fair to the world to live in that kind of bubble. And I was doing it, and I probably now still do in other areas of bias I'm unaware of, and I'm worried about it. I don't want to run to another religion or a religion. I'm shocked that this is.
Let me tell you this, because you say that what is the truth? Let me tell you, you're not going to understand the truth 100%. That's just something that it's not like 0 and 1 that you know the truth or you don't know the truth. We're trying to understand the truth. We're trying to iterate. We're trying to do try and error to understand more about our reality. So AE map was good for its time. Now we have movement. Now we have found the problems. Now we're getting closer to the truth. So you're not going to understand the whole reality, the whole truth, but we're going to get closer to it.
Hang on
that's it.
When you say found the problems, you mean really looked. It was the people claiming that there was an ice wall and a sun pattern that wasn't there that we need to worry about. Because all we had to do is really pay attention to how it was created, what it really was, and understand that it's only a projection of the globe. It's the ice wall.
Exactly.
Magically, right? And the sun and moon never belonged on it. And poor, Chris Pontius made the animated version of it, and now suddenly it's called a model. And that's unfortunate at this point. because it had us all thinking, there it is, man. I'd wave it in front
Yeah.
of people myself. Man, it was mesmerizing. It was mesmerizing.
It's the logo for the United Nations. You think these guys are going to give us the real map right on their logo for their huge deceptive United Nations organization? Just a thought. Because I mean, they rise it high too. The United Nations. It's like a gang symbol for the whole operation they got going on. So in the Antarctic situation too, because that goes through the Antarctic Treaty System, the United Nations as well. So
I wonder the history of that map prior to that UN. What's the UN? 53? 1953? When's the UN? 49? Something like that? I wonder when the first AE was made.
I think Gleason was the first person who actually made the projection. But if you want to know that when officially they actually put it on the on their logo, I think it was after the Antarctica Treaty. Yeah,
Gleason
that
was
would
like
be
1897 or something like that?
Yeah, that was the projection that he did. But I'm saying that officially, like formally, when they use this map on their logo, I think that was after 1948 when they made the Treaty of Antarctica. I think that was the time that they legitimately, announced that this is the, or they just put it up there to just show that, that's the ring, that's where you guys are, kind of I don't know. Anyway, so I think that was 1948 actually.
1892. It looks like Gleason's.
this says 45. It says the original emblem of the United Nations was created by a team of designers during the United Nations Conference on International Organization in 1945. The team was led by Oliver Lincoln Lundquist. The UN emblem was designed to be a map of the world representing an azimuthal equidistant projection centered on the North Pole, inscribed in a wreath consisting of crossed conventionalized branches of the olive tree, in gold on a field of smoke blue with all water areas in white. The projection of the map extends to 60 degrees south latitude and includes 5 concentric circles.
What does that mean? 5 concentric circles for what? What are they? They're just randomly
talking about the latitude lines. There's like 5 of them. Is that what they're saying? There's just 5 concentric circles coming out on the one that they use. It says the flag was in 1947. But yeah, anyways, that was just kind of a side thing. But you were just saying, like, isn't it kind of like dark and creepy though when they've lied to us about the globe, and then from the perspective that the AE map is false, and then they had that locked and loaded for everybody who was going to be questioning the globe to then have that on their T-shirts and on their logos and on everything, to then break that down as well. The fact that they fly the flag high on the United Nations, and then it's like the kind of thing that's associated with flat Earth, and that they kind of got it associated with through the.
I don't know if there was anyone questioning the globe back then. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but when you like, if you Googled, if you started like doing internet searches for flat Earth back in the year 1995 or 2000, 195 was a little early on the internet. Let's say more like 2000, 2005. You're going to get that AE map and all of this thing that goes along with the term flat Earth. So what was that purposeful? Was that programmed? Was that information, the Robotham, all that stuff kind of brought to the top and labeled with flat Earth, purposely?
I think in the 30s, everything was going to come out, and that's why Amelia Earhart got disappeared, and that's why there's so much controversy in Lindbergh's life, because they were both private and couldn't be controlled.
Yeah, dude. I've heard that there was like people protesting, like flat Earth protesters in the 1930s that were shut down all by World War II. Yeah, that's pretty wild to think that
they were the only people that knew about world aviation at the time, for real, that weren't controlled by an army or navy or something. And they both had big problems with the government. It's like really weird, and they were hugely famous, both of them. Like Lindbergh was the most famous person on Earth for a minute, for some reason.
I'm just saying, wouldn't it be more likely that the real map of the Earth they're keeping for themselves and scrubbing from the entire internet, and then they would give us a false one and try to associate that with the flat Earth, just in general? Rather, if we're being lied to about the shape, would they really just have the true shape on a simple Google search, or would it actually be hidden and then we'd be given another false one?
It still seems about what would be beyond Antarctica on either on any layout, right?
Yeah, because on the 2-pole one, on the other side of Antarctica, there'd be more land or something, or there could be. And then you hear that, Admiral Byrd talking about there being more land on the other, beyond Antarctica, on the other side of Antarctica. So that's interesting. But yeah, on an AE type layout, there's the question of what would be beyond it. But on like the 2-pole with Antarctica as a continent, there's also that question of if you kept going south.
But he didn't say other land on the other side. He said the interior was rich with warm springs and warm areas.
Well, at one point he said on the other side of Little America, which like Little America is a base. I hear what you're saying though. He may not have said like that you go off the continent onto other land and then you find another thing. But still, the wording is kind of a little bit nebulous in terms of how he said it. But
why we should trust Admiral Byrd? I was thinking about it, like because he was a Mason, he was in the Army, in the Air Force. So, well, why is it like flat earthers are? Even I believe I was interested in his speech the first time, but I keep thinking about it, like why did his radio conversation is out there, and why, like why did the system actually put his voice out there for us to listen to it? And doesn't it look suspicious to you guys? This thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. I mean.
Yeah.
But that
would
be
a lot of film, a lot of documentation, a lot of hoopla, a lot of policy, a lot of everything around it. Yeah.
So we shouldn't it's not a good idea to just 100% rely on what Admiral Byrd said. I don't think that's a good idea. We can use it, but it's not. Yeah.
Well, we watched. He seemed to say out of place. He seemed to be speaking man to man, and normally military doesn't get that opportunity. He seems to have stolen the opportunity to speak to America instead of going through Congress or other military channels. He seemed to have been acutely aware of what he was doing, to me. Like that he wanted people to know, because there was no method for a military man to get to speak like that about the state of anything. Because it ends up being spoken by politicians. So I think that was,
it seems like anything they wouldn't have wanted him saying, they wouldn't have let him say. That's one thing to consider, though. And that what he did say either was planted or was like only partially true, potentially, because I just don't think these guys, with everything they were just coming out of World War II, they're just going to let this guy go and say stuff that they wouldn't want out there. I doubt that would even be a thing. So
what if he had dirt on them though? What if it was real world and he just was saying, "Fuck it, I'm going to go talk about this. I'm not divulging it. Your weird Nazi alien agenda. I'm just talking about geology."
Yeah, and it is kind of interesting that he kind of he didn't continue doing those interviews. It's like there was a few of them, and then he sort of disappeared, and then didn't he die at some point shortly after that, or not? I don't know how long after that, but he did kind of disappear after that in a way, right? Like after those few appearances. I mean, did that slip through, or was that all planned? I mean, I guess that's a question that's worth considering.
Also, with him, his career is really long. Like, there's nobody, probably no more decorated military person over time than him. He was super young when he started, and he went into his old age.
Looks like he died in 1957. So 1888 to 57.
Was he still active military, did it say?
Years of service were up to 47. So no, he was out in 47, it looks like, and then 10 years, I guess, retired.
And the Longines thing was what, 52? Well, no, when was that? That was 53? That interview?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about because that's kind of one of the famous ones. I don't remember the date, but it seems like it's in the 50s. Yeah. What was that show called?
Longines, the clock company, watch company. Longines.
Let's see if I can find the date for it.
He seemed like, I hate to judge people, but he seemed like a serious guy, right? He seemed legit. I hate to use that as a bearing on anything, but
like 54 Longines Chronoscope television show, December 8th, 54.
So close.
So yeah, that would have been years till he was. Yeah, you were 1 year off. That would have been definitely some years until after he was out of his service. Technically. So was he just kind of speaking freely on his experience? From years back, and then they didn't really control that.
And I'd have to ask, how well was oil doing at securing more corporations, more TV? Because oil would have been the people that had the most interest in sequestering any of those resources and leaving them up there. So did oil have a stronghold on the media yet? By then, is an interesting point.
Yep. Yeah, because there was a lot changing at that time.
Yeah, so did oil emerge right away in 1946 as part of it, or did they creep in the back door as a utility everywhere across the world? That's an interesting thing to note, like how they got integrated. I guess we'd have to look at Middle East now at that point. By 55, they took over Iran. I don't know if we had Saudi Arabia right after the war, but all the oil stuff must have happened right then. 47, 46, 47. That's a trip, whatever happened in the Middle East then, because they had to deal with a modern world suddenly.
I think real quick, back to the AE map. The thing about the AE map is that people, I think part of why it was attractive to people, especially people that jumped on it and claimed that it was what the Earth is and all that, or they really tried to identify with it or to say this is it kind of thing to people, is that people people want a replacement. In general, I'm just saying, I think there's like a personality characteristic that a lot of people have where if they come to the conclusion it's not a globe, they want a replacement. And, it may not feel comfortable to just sit there and be like, well, I don't know exactly everything, the whole picture. So I'm just saying, I think there may be like, even if I were to call it like a mainstream flat earther kind of thing, if I were to use that term, is that people a lot of people want a replacement. They want something they can symbolize, because this is like worldview stuff, it's like deep stuff of who you are and where you are and what you live on, so would it have been the same if everyone in 2015 was just like, oh yeah, it's not a globe, but there's not even an outline to go off, so that's where the AE map did kind of come in, is having at least an outline from the center that shows a planar projection, at least to consider that. But yeah, I mean, the issues in the south have been known about in terms of, the stars, are there really the long distances between continents, the distortion of, on a lot of the maps, like the distortion of Australia and those factors, of course, the whole Antarctica situation, and how to reconcile a 90-degree south point with a ring that's all the way around the outside, all that stuff. But yeah, I guess just my main point is that people want something to replace it with, and I think that's probably why there's so many people jumped on it like that.
But to make up all those stories about TFE and how many ways it could have been faked, and then saying, well, we don't trust the team that went down there, is kind of goes against the whole idea of TFE, is that it was going to be well represented by both sides and well documented by both sides.
I'm just going to say a character of something. It's sort of like if somebody deceives someone, and then let's say like person A deceives person B, and then later person A does something true, and now person B thinks it's fake, even though the original, the second thing they did was true. I'm just saying it's kind of like a scenario of like the AE map, the whole 24-hour sun, and then there actually is one there, and then now they have people defending that there isn't one there because they were sold a false model in the first place, in which there wouldn't be one there. So yeah, it's like, that's why it's like an ultimate truth discernment. Like how can you discern the truth? Yeah, and if people thought it was an AE map and there's a 24-hour sun and it's not an AE map, then yeah, they're kind of just wrong on multiple fronts. It's kind of sad, 'cause it's like deceived about the globe, deceived about flat Earth, and then now then you realize all the answers are not just on a Google search kind of thing.
And you already got no ice wall, no dome. You're like, this isn't working very well. So it's hard to ask. It's heartbreaking, really, to be honest, because it was necessary for that totem pole for me to wave it around. It was necessary to say this is how it would work on a flat Earth. I could still say that, but it's not how it works if you go look. It's how it would work on flat Earth only. It's not how it works though. If you're
I mean, the AE is a useful, because it is accurate for like the zenith points of the sun, in its 24-hour cycle. Like the sun will be above South America, and then et cetera. Like it is accurate in that way. The elevation angles to Polaris. I mean, there's certain things that are useful with it. And dude, I mean, it's useful. Like a few years ago, I was at the grocery store, and I already had checked out. And I was walking out, and I saw this other guy who was checking out, and he had a shirt on with a big AE map on it. So I normally wouldn't have done that, but after I came outside, I just kind of sort of hung out in front for a few minutes, and then he came out, and I was like, and I went up to him, and we ended up talking for hours. We ended up talking about Tartaria and all this cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, if he hadn't had that AE map, I probably wouldn't have even said something to him. And you know what I mean? So yeah, it's useful as like as some kind of a holding place at the very minimum, just a simple projection from the north.
It still is without the sun and moon. It still has that purpose. It's adding the story of the sun going around it that makes it caca. To be honest, I mean that's
the full extent of what the south is and how that matches with the north. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's still a good symbol of the world.
I like. I mean, I think it's elegant. It's kind of beautiful. It looks like an eyeball, and the continents coming out from the center. I mean, it's like blades of a fan. And it is interesting. Like the continents, a lot of them are all clustered in the north, but then in the south, they kind of taper off. South America, South Africa, kind of taper off to a point. So, I mean, that even has kind of a interesting quality to it. Whereas in the north, the land's all kind of clustered in the north. And then you do have some of the aspects, like the difference in weather and, the difference in plant life in the north and south. Those were always arguments for the AE, is some of the things that seem not symmetrical, in terms of the north and south, like in terms of the environments and things like that.
And remember, they was clumped together like Pangea. Pangea, did they call it? It was all one continent.
And they claim that came out, yeah. So then it would taper off to the south like that, or that it would taper.
Have you ever seen the growing Earth theories? That like animation. If the water came later, causing the separation of everything to grow apart.
If there's a north and a south, you could still have that. Like if you have two poles, you could have a north clustered with all the continents there, and then Pangea could come out from the north, attracting south. So you could get kind of a connection between the north and south of the land that kind of intersects between them. So you could have something that maybe started at the north and it's like the land is kind of growing out, going to the south, potentially.
So what do we do with the people that are black hole sun and inner Earth? And I mean, like, there's a lot of fanciful ideas. that are all cute, you know. But I'll tell you this: if you told me that we lived on a volcanic planet and that I was walking around on grass, but beneath there was lava somewhere, I would laugh. You could never convince me of volcano, you know, without taking me. Never. You know, I mean, the whole story is silly. Okay, so the inside of Earth is on fire, the rock is burning, right? You know what I mean? Like, you could never convince me. Even today, to think that it's still active.
Molten magma center.
You could never talk me into it, never. You'd have to fucking take me and shove me into the hot stuff to prove it burned.
Dude, how about go back like hundreds of years ago and try to tell people they're flying at 2.4 million miles an hour through a vacuum? What they would say?
What vacuum? That's what they would say. What's a vacuum? Well, I thank you for putting up with me and everyone else. And it got quiet a couple of weeks ago. And every time I worry about you when it's quiet, I realize you're getting a break. It's not the end of the world for you. And so I just hope that we can find more purpose in our quest, you know, and not have to be so fanciful. I think there is still things to understand. And, you know, a lot of people are comfortable with, you know, we don't know. And unfortunately, Flat Earth has retreated to that position. We don't know.
Because we're not supposed to know, my brother. This world is not meant for us to know everything. And as I said, we're not going to know 100% the truth of the flat or the Earth. The only thing that we're trying to do is just getting closer to the truth. That's it.
Well, I don't see us getting along with ourselves, much less other people working towards anything. I had this thing I made. Let me share my screen. I made this in a. Oh no, I'm not sharing my screen. Turn on the camera. I made this in probably 2018, claiming that, you know, we had to work with other groups if we were going to get anything done. And I listed a whole bunch of groups that I felt were along the same path as what I thought flat earthers were. And you could see on my screen, you know, some of these names you recognize, and some still are there, and some have always been there. And shit like Occupy, I see is on there, doesn't really even belong, except I saw it as a active social movement at the time.
No, it kind of does. I remember that Occupy thing. I wasn't really involved in it, but I remember we were I was in Oakland and we were walking through, and a bunch of the Occupy people were there in Oakland, California, and we kind of walked through it. Yeah, I mean, it had a little bit of a revolutionary vibe, a little bit to it. I don't know what it was really all about, but yeah, I remember that movement.
And I thought that these are the people that we were going to have to work with, because these were more voting groups, you know, people that would make changes and people that would show up in force. So I'm sorry that Flat Earth didn't get along well enough to represent itself to any of these groups, to even try and say, oh, you know.
Well, the globe deception is too strong, though. I think the globe is too strong, because if you went to any of those people, I bet even if I went into that Occupy thing and I've started going around talking about Flat Earth, you probably get a lot of triggered people, you know?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we didn't build any cred to be able to be represented. Like you said, you recognize some of these names.
No, but I'm just saying that like the globe is too strong of a deception, where I think a lot of people in those movements would be appalled and probably kick you out if you started talking about Flat Earth. I'm just saying it's I don't know if they would have been willing to hook up with it, you know, unless they got through their own globe associations or whatever, or their belief pattern in it.
What do these groups even do? The Sierra Club, World Wildlife Fund, isn't that just like the World Monetary Fund of animals, basically?
Dan, have you been by the world's largest overpass bridge in Aurora Hills, or not Aurora Hills, Calabasas?
Yeah, man, that's going to be a death trap.
That shit's so ridiculous.
It's a total death trap.
It's just something that they can wire the 5G in. Have you seen? So you live in LA, right? You've seen the driverless Jaguars they have?
Yeah, they're weird.
Fuck. You know, okay, so all the tearing apart the streets is for shit like that, because they can only go in a certain grid. They can't go up to the mountains and shit. You know, they have to be close to the 5G.
Oh yeah, I can't leave service. Huh? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't
and
know.
They don't operate too well in the rain either.
I wouldn't want autonomous anything around me. You know, when they came out with elevators, people wouldn't get in them. When they got rid of the driver, you know, the elevator operator, people wouldn't get in them because they thought they weren't safe without an operator. So that's how we feel about cars, where in fact they're probably safer than having your buddy drive. Hey, you
they're
could
not.
get your car drunk
They're
if
not.
it was driverless. That'd be kind
They're
of
not.
cool. You could go out
They're
drinking.
not. They're
with a
not
car.
safe as far as like the amount of frequencies your body's getting, though.
The new Chevy Alki. You can go out drinking and the car takes you home.
You should just stick with water, dude. You don't need any alcohol.
Just saying, the car marketed for the drunk. It's perfect, right? It gives you a
I'm
little
saying,
surge.
you should stick with water, homie.
Oh man, there's no telling where this direction of everything is going. You know?
Yeah. So, but in terms of what we were talking about before, like getting closer to the truth, isn't that always a good thing? Even if certain misconceptions that some people had maybe have to go by the wayside, isn't that the ultimate?
I can't tell you. I'm getting old, where I'm resistant to new things now for no good reason. I'm not part of the progression of change. You know, it's weird. Like I have an older phone.
Well, I guess what I'm like going back to even the Jaren thing, like he whatever he's saying and going through, he's trying to claim that now he thinks the truth is it's a globe. So that's what he is now, you know, if that's what he's moving forward with. The thing is though, like on like let's say the truth journey in general, if that's what he thinks is his cutting edge, the thing is he correct on that or not? Because if he's not, then it's just another false thing. Like if he had a certain conception about the AE map and the way the sky worked that was false, and then but if he goes back to something that is also false, you know what I'm saying? So
you're right. You haven't been watching, but you're so right. So you know what he did? He decided to do the moon. And so the Dave McKeegan guy says, okay, well, I'll represent that we went to the moon. And Jaren begged whatever population was left of people to come on and give him fuel to fight against the moon landing. And he didn't get shit. Like he didn't have that much. And McKeegan pretended to steamroll him. The whole show.
Bro, Jaren knows the shape of the earth. He's just been paid off, bro. Straight up.
That's furthest from the truth.
Yeah. All right.
Well, he doesn't have any money. So I don't know.
I mean, you don't know that. They could have threatened his family, bro. You know what I mean?
Okay. But your speculation is duly noted. But the real life is he's looking for a job desperately. And it's down to the wire because it's
maybe
been
maybe he got in debt for gambling. Maybe he had some gambling debts he had to pay off.
No, it's just 2/3 of his audience disappeared and his monthly.
Good. I'm fucking glad they left, bro. Fuck that dude.
Yeah, I had to unsub. And welcome, Flatter Day Saints. What an honor.
What up?
What up?
Right? What up? I'm just saying though, that's what I believe, dude. I don't believe that all of a sudden he takes this trip and then all of a sudden he's a Glober. I mean, it was scripted like a motherfucker. That's what I see. I don't see that's not organic, bro. You know what I mean?
It's the truth though.
I mean, it's what he says it is, you know. None of us really know what the truth is about it.
It's well documented.
But Dan, do you think But Dan, do you think he flipped to try to blow up his channel so that he wouldn't have to get a job? That if he went Globe, he figured, hey, he'll make more money. Maybe he'll be a star. Maybe he'll get popular. Maybe he'll make
I
as much money as MC2 makes on Super Chats.
I don't think he flipped, and I don't think there was a plan.
What do you mean you don't think he flipped?
I think that Flat Earth capsized.
What? What do you mean by that?
Well, Flat Earth went upside down, and for him coming to the surface in a sinking boat, you're yelling at him while you guys are in the sinking boat. Why isn't he taking helm?
You're tripping, bro. How could the truth be a sinking boat, bro? The truth goes forward and never comes back void, homie.
Who's asking him to take the helm though? Like he flipped his view, his worldview flip.
When people ask those people to go to conferences and such, when they ask them to speak at conferences, I'm trying to answer you. It's about speaking at conferences and representing what was considered the community. That would be taking the helm. That would be doing shows. That would be continuing with Ghostbusters.
Nobody needs Flat Earth don't need no representatives. It is what it is. It's always going to be there. It's the truth, regardless of how many people represent it or not. You know, it doesn't need a fucking a show or a conference. You know what I mean?
It's an unpopular truth. You say it as if I'm not going to get in trouble calling it the truth.
I just say it is what it is. It doesn't need any representatives. You know.
But that's not true. You and I have marched around in the street representing it. So you're wrong.
Yeah, we did that for fun though. We didn't need to do that to represent Flat Earth.
Yeah, it's like you can represent it, but it doesn't have to be because it just is what it is. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
If people want to represent it or want to try to do, they can. But in and of itself, it's sort of like if you have a cup of water and it is in fact a cup of water, it is a truth, a cup of water. Nobody really needs to represent that cup of water. It just is a cup of water. But if people want to, and they want to sell it or they want to put it on a T-shirt, yeah, they can do that.
Nobody needs to have a shirt that says Dan the Waterman just for that to be a cup of water. It's still a cup of water. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
But Dan actually does. He actually does represent water, but purified water. Yeah, I mean, Dan, what do you think of that? Because you keep saying that, like, there needs to be this, needs to be that. I agree with you. Like, as a human race, though, it is best if we work together and don't have strife, and we can, because yeah, I mean, those of us that are even aware of this, you could call that, if you want to say, like, if you just want to make two massive groups, people that believe in the globe, people that have a stationary, planar, flat, etc. cosmology. So from that perspective, but at the same time, I mean, does that mean that all the weight is on our shoulders, or will it also just come out naturally and organically over time?
I just don't see, like, an economy. A growing economy is great, more the merrier. Bring it on. I don't see that growth happening now. And the people that have come along are pure faithers, and they don't talk about, like, solid stuff.
Bro, the way I see it is that once you get a certain amount of number of viewers or views, once you get, let's just put the mark at 30,000, right? So once you get above that 30,000 mark, then you got the government on you, and they're going to infiltrate you and send you on vacations to Antarctica, and you're going to come back being a glober. It is what it is, bro. If they get too big, representing something that for hundreds of years they've lied, killed, stealed, and destroyed everything in its path to hide the truth about it, why would they let anybody get monetized up to a certain level? They're going to bring them back down. It just is what it is, They have plenty of tricks up their sleeve. They could have done a million different things to flip Jaren. You know what
I mean? I know what you're saying. Yeah, I don't find it. I find it to be a fear-based position.
Well, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, you missed what we were talking about before about the logic of to begin with, and whether or not that's something that you could bank on as being of value, in conversation. And so
there's no money in flat Earth. There's no value in it financially, monetarily. If you pursue it the way certain people have, you'll end up going broke.
You're right, but what we found in our conversation is that the value of the AE map is that it was fun to wave around. It gave a representation and a rallying point, and that we were digging on Gleason's for that, but it didn't make it work the way the world. It didn't make the world work.
I mean, the AE map could be accurate, bro. You know what I mean? Maybe they didn't go to Antarctica. How about that one?
That's wishful thinking. That's wishful thinking.
You should create a dramaturgy to attempt, get followers to subjugate beneath, or just adopt. You should actually build a real epistemic movement that has a valid knowledge claim as to what is real and what is not, which I have built.
The AE map is still a good map. Even as a two-pole flat earther, I'm telling you, the AE map, when it comes above the equator, it works to